Alright guys, welcome to my second tutorial. This one's going to be about Hwoarang, hence the title. So before I get into it, I just want to point out that this is like my third time trying to do this. The first time was all over the place. I got that part fixed up. And the second time, like only half of it ended up downloading onto YouTube. And then, I don't know what happened to the other half. I tried to get it to download, but for some reason YouTube won't let me. So, I just said, screw it. So, let's go ahead and just get up on in here. Alright, so, before I get too far into it, let me talk about a couple things that you might want to know. The first thing is going to be, you're going to want to know how to do your, what your number inputs are. What number inputs are is like 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're like if you're newer to Tekken, you won't know. But so quick and easy way to figure it out is whether you're on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Your 1 is going to be your square on PlayStation or your X on Xbox. Your 2 is going to be your triangle on PlayStation or your Y on Xbox. Your 3 is going to be your X on PlayStation or your A on Xbox. And your 4 is going to be your circle on PlayStation or your B on Xbox. So I don't want to get too much into details on everything. I just want to make sure that part was pointed out because I do talk in numbers. So if you aren't really sure how to do it and you're not really, and you can't figure out what exactly it is I'm talking about, I'm sure there's a crap ton of other YouTube channels that'll get more in depth on what the numbers are and like the moving notations or whatever. But a big thing about Hwoarang is his video is long by itself, and so I'm not trying to get into details on everything, minus a few things, you know, because that just to make it take longer. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So for the Hwoarang tutorial, I'm going to be doing this in almost a specific order. I wrote everything down, so I have a little cheat sheet and everything. I'm not great on frame data. I do know a couple things here and there, but for the most part, I'm not really big on frame data. So in the order I'm going to plan on doing this is I'm going to talk about the stances, and then just to make sure I don't forget about, I'm going to just go straight into the grabs that you're going to want to know to use with Hwoarang. And these grabs aren't going to be as normal 1+3 or 2+4 grabs. They're going to be the others. You have his key moves. You have his pokes, which his key moves and pokes could be a little bit intertwined with each other, but I do have them in different areas. His moves to get into his stances, his launchers, his screw attacks, his power crushes, his rages, and then we'll do a few little combos at the end so you guys can see some of the things that you might be able to learn with Hwoarang. You can use my stuff as a good, what's the word, reference, or you can try to make your own. It doesn't matter. So let's get into it. So Hwoarang, so first thing is his stances. So Hwoarang typically has 4 stances and then 2 more makeshift stances. I say makeshift so because some people consider them to be stances and others don't, and I'm not here to disregard anybody's beliefs or whatever. So his first stance is going to be his left foot forward. It's the one you're seeing now. My bad. It's the one you're seeing now. If you go into another stance and you duck, you go straight back into it. If he gets hit or he blocks a hit, you go straight back into it. So that's pretty much it with that. Then he has his right foot forward. It's a simple tap of 3+4. And as you can see, his right hand goes down. So that's how you can really tell what stance you're in, aside from the fact that you can see his back. That might help. His left foot forward, or his left flamingo stance, my fault. His left flamingo stance is just 4-3. It does have a slight evasiveness to the left with this. I want to say it's the left. And then you have his forward neutral 4, which, as you can also see, has a slight evasiveness to the right. Then his last 2 makeshift stances is going to be his back turned left foot forward. This one's a little trickier to get into than any of the others. But basically it's either 3+4 and then 1+2, or you could do 1+2 and then 3+4. It doesn't matter. But that's how it gets into it. And we'll get into the moves a little later. And then the last move, the last stance is his back turned right foot forward. And that's all of his stances. So let's go ahead and get straight into the grabs you're going to want to know for him. He has 3 grabs that aren't just your standard grabs. Well, actually he has 4. That's my fault. So his first one is going to be your 4-2+3. It's usually a really good way to get on the other side of the screen if you really want to. As you guys can see, it doesn't always work, but it is typically my best way to get it over if I don't just go straight into the skyrocket or whatever. And then his second one, as you guys saw, is 2+4 and then back. Does 40 damage, pretty decent. I'm not sure what break that is. I think it's just a regular 1 or 2 grab. I could be wrong though. His next grab is going to be your quarter circle back 3. Just 45 damage. It's really good. I end up actually using this one a lot more than the others. As you guys can see, it can put you on the other side, but it's not exactly foolproof. And then his last one is going to be your right foot forward, and then just a standard grab. The reason, even though I did mention that I wasn't going to do standard grabs, the reason that this makes it unique is because you can only do this grab if you're in right foot forward. So that's why I consider it. And it does 50 damage. So it's a lot stronger than your typical grabs. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into his key moves. So one of his key moves is going to be your 1-1-3-3. And anybody who's seen Hwoarang's fight since Tekken 3 knows this stance, or knows this move, and yeah. So a lot of people that have seen this is going to know to duck or low parry. So something I like to try to do every now and again is I'll do the 1-1-3-3 just to see if the opponent knows it or not. And even if they don't, a lot of newbies tend to duck it anyways because for some reason everybody thinks to duck. So what I try to do is I'll do like the 1-1 part and then like back 3 or 1-1 and then down forward 4. Anything that causes a mid. So like that would be a bad idea. Down forward 1 might work. Down forward 1+2. We'll get into all those moves later. So that's pretty much it. Then you got his bracket 3-4. When I say bracket, in case you aren't familiar, a bracket means you hit the 2 buttons really quickly, one directly after the other, almost at the same time, but not at the same time. That's really the best way it can be explained. But this is going to be a really good move. As you guys can see, it does 32 damage. And give me 1 second here. And it is -3 on block. So it's actually not bad. Not bad at all. So let's go ahead and get back into it. His next move is going to be your 4-3. This is going to be one of your key moves and one of your best pokes to use with Hwoarang. And we'll get more into this later. You have your forward 2. It's really good mid. It's really good. If you sidestep towards the background, this actually becomes a lot more safe. 1 second. 1 second. It's -2 on block by itself, so it's really not even that bad. But as you guys can see, if I sidestep to the right, you can still see my character sidestepping, although it's not necessarily a bad thing. If I sidestep to the left, or my bad, towards the background, as you guys can see, I could do the input a lot faster, and you can't even see him sidestepping. And that includes being on the other side as well. It's always towards the background. Alright, so what's the next move? You have his forward 3 neutral 3. A lot of people don't particularly like this move. I think it's pretty legit. Mostly because it has that, the built-in sidestep. And this is really, really good for like after knockdowns or like after a string. That pushes them back pretty far so that even if they retaliate right after, they can't really reach you. This is really good to pull out every now and again. It is fairly punishable, however, so that's something you want to be careful with. It says it's -16 on block, but with as much pushback as that has, I wouldn't be too worried about it as long as it makes impact. If it doesn't make impact, you might have something to worry about. But with as much pushback as it has, I wouldn't be too worried. So our next one is going to be your forward 1+2. It's that good mid. Counter hit launches. Let's see. I believe it's -9 on block. So this is one of those moves, like after you do it, you're going to want to like not do anything afterwards. Easy way to point out is that there are some people with slightly faster startups when it comes to their moves. However, typically a move is 10 frames at the fastest. So if you got a -9 move, that means they have 9 frames to retaliate. And not even the 1+2 standard jabs are 9 frames. So when I say don't do anything, that means if you do them and you back up or block, you should block it. However, such as the move is the 4-3 neutral 3, which is -16, they would typically have 16 frames to retaliate, which basically means that they would have 16 frames to punch you. Now, being that far back, generally there's not really a lot they can do that's going to be 16 frames. However, there is, like I said, that's one of those moves you can use, but it might sometimes be better not to be really, really careful using it. But that's basically, so when I say 4-1+2 has -9 on block, that means after they block it, you need to back up. You need to back off. So he has his down forward 1. It's a good little poke. The range is really, really crappy, unfortunately. He does have another move that remedies this, which is going to be your down forward 1+2. So the difference between these moves is the startup time is the same. I think it's exactly the same. I think they're both 13 frame startups. Let's see. There you are. So yeah, they're both 13 frame startups. The differences are